Present in the virtual courtroom, we have both Ms. Peterson, the mother, Mr. Fluker, putative father. We have attorney Kristen Newhouse on behalf of the mother, mother's guardian ad litem, Ms. Kennedy, Mr. Green on behalf of the fathers, Ms. Weddle on behalf of the children, various agency workers, foster parent, Ms. Peterson. This is a permanency planning hearing in this matter. Ms. Weddle.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to call Jennifer Palavin, please. And how long have you been on this case?
I've been on this case since I believe March of 2023.
Thank you. You've prepared and collected reports?
Yes, I have.
I would like to mark and move to admit 2 exhibits, Your Honor. As Exhibit 1, a case service plan with a parent agency treatment plan dated June 18, 2024. And as Exhibit 2, forensic fluid, oral fluid drug screen testing for Ashley Peterson dated April 29, 2024 through June 26, 2024.
Any objection?
No objection.
Objection, Your Honor.
And Ms. Weddle, there's a number of proposed exhibits that have been presented to the court that you did not mention. Is it not your intent to admit those at this time?
Those are the exhibits that I've received. Are you making reference to something else?
There's a home study, pending guardianship.
Okay. Yes.
Forensic fluids reports, I think. Yes.
Yes, the forensic fluid reports are Exhibit 2.
Okay, so we got that one. So it's just the home study that is outstanding.
Yes, yes, I would like that admitted too. I'm sorry.
As Exhibit 3?
Yes, please.
All right, any objection?
Well, I've not seen it, but I anticipate receiving Exhibit 3, so I don't object to it.
All right, it's admitted. Ms. Gibson, would you send that to Ms. Newhouse and Ms. Kennedy, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Are there any other that I may have?
No, I believe that's it. I just wanted to make sure we got addressed everything. Go ahead.
Thank you. In regards to the children, Ms. Palavin, where are they placed?
RFJ is placed with Mr. Fluker. He was placed there April 5th of 2024. He continues to remain at placement and is doing very well. NJ is placed with his grandmother, and he has been placed there since removal.
Okay, so in terms of NJ, you've assessed the grandmother's home and found it safe, appropriate, and able to meet his needs?
Yes, I have.
Are there any concerns regarding that placement?
No, there is not.
In terms of RFJ, you've assessed Mr. Fluker's home and found it safe, appropriate, and able to meet his needs?
Yes, we have.
And there are 0 concerns there, correct?
That's correct.
And the children are ages 3 and 2?
Yes, just about.
Oh, 3 and almost 2. I'm sorry, this birthday. And so in terms of medical dental immunizations, are they up to date?
Yes, both boys are up to date on all appointments.
Are there any concerns?
No, they both remain in good health.
Are they meeting their milestones?
Yes, they are. Both boys appear to be healthy and developmentally on track.
And are sibling visits occurring?
Yes, they do. They occur at least monthly at the relative caregiver's home.
And they also occur during parenting time, correct?
Yes, they also see each other twice a week during visits with Miss Ashley Peterson.
Okay. Anything else regarding the children that I may have missed?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, let's talk about Miss Peterson. Is she employed?
She did just start a new job. She quit her job at Subway in June, I think it was June 11th, and then she started a new job at a sub shop this week.
And have you received any documentation?
No, I have not. She just started this job, so I don't believe she has a check stub or anything yet.
Oh, were you able to receive documentation in regards to Subway?
Yes, we have verification for that job.
And what was the length of time she was employed there?
I do not have that. I do not know that off the top of my head. I have to look back in my notes to find out.
But she has been unemployed for a lengthy period of time, correct?
Yes, she has.
Okay. Are there any other type of income that she has?
She also receives SSI.
And have you received documentation of that?
Yes, we have.
How is her support system?
Her support system continues to be in need. Her mother, Miss Peterson, their relationship kind of, at times they get along well, at other times they do not. And so I think her support system continues to be an area of needed growth.
Okay. In terms of domestic relations, what is her current status?
As far as I know, she's not in a current relationship.
Okay. And then there was is she receiving therapy for being a DV victim or no?
She is in mental health counseling.
But do you know if she's working on specifically the aspect of being a DV victim or no?
I'm not sure of that.
Okay, you can check that.
Yes, I will.
In terms of her housing, what is her current status?
Right now she's staying at Degage or with friends. She has been searching for housing, calling private landlords, speaking with low-income property managers. She's also been talking about possibly moving to the east side of the state, where she said rent is more affordable and there's also more felon-friendly options.
Okay. So she's currently homeless
Yes, she is.
and you've provided resources to her.
Yes, we have.
How has her communication been?
Her communication with the agency, I think for the most part has been okay. There was one incident at parenting time with a case aide, but otherwise I think this quarter she has maintained communication with us.
Okay, so she's maintained communication. You said there was a concern at a parenting time. Can you please explain?
Yes, there was a parenting time visit, I believe it was June 10th, when Miss Peterson got to the visit. RFJ had a dirty diaper that had leaked, and so she'd asked the case aide to take him back to get him cleaned up. So the case aide took him back to his father's home to get him changed, and I guess she had meant to take him to her mother's home to get changed and cleaned up. So she was cursing and yelling at the case aide, and this all occurred, in front of the boys. And so I think that continues to be a concern, is her interactions and her mental health, and making sure that it's a safe environment for the children.
Okay. And that case aide requested not to work on that case any longer, correct?
Yes, she did.
Okay. And was she also escalated at an FTM?
She was. I was trying to remember if that was during this reporting period or last. The last FTM we had, which I believe was June 18th, I think that one went well. It might have been the one back in May. I apologize. I'm trying to remember.
Okay. And then I did see in a report where where Mr. Fluker refused an overnight and there were some concerning behaviors from her.
Yes, I believe that was the FTM possibly back in May.
No, I'm talking about where she got in Ramesh's face and was talking about his dad, or no?
Off the top of my head, I do not recall that incident.
You're unsure of that. Okay. You can follow up.
Yes, I will.
But the agency still has a concern regarding her communication, correct?
Yes.
Okay. In terms of substances, she has a long history, correct?
Yes, she does.
Okay. And she has multiple diagnoses and had multiple overdoses.
Correct.
The agency has been recommending intensive treatment. Has she received that?
For her substance abuse, she continues to screen weekly with forensic fluids. This quarter, let me see, I believe she has screened every week. If she's able to screen due to work or the hours at the screening facility, then Ms. Peterson does notify the agency. So she has been doing her random drug screens.
Okay, so she's missed screens, but then she's made them up. I just want to make sure I understand you, correct?
Yes, if she's not able to make one due to work or the hours of this facility, she does notify the agency timely.
Okay. And so then, but there was one screen that she did not make up, correct?
Let me double check. When I went through the screens, I was thinking that she had made them all this quarter. Do you know the date that was missed?
The week of April 29th through May 3rd, that's what your report indicates.
Yes, I believe that is correct.
Okay. Now let's talk about, I asked you a question, you answered a different question, but in terms of treatment, the agency is recommending intensive treatment, correct?
Yes.
And she hasn't had intensive treatment, correct?
No, she is discussing her substance use during her mental health counseling, kind of focusing on her sobriety.
Okay. And in terms of that counseling, she's in counseling at Network 180,
Yes, she is.
and she sees a therapist twice a month.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know what her goals are?
Let's see. They're working on managing her emotions when she's frustrated or stressed, by using some breathing treatments, and reminding her of her own goals.
Okay. So in terms of substances, is she working on substance abuse or no?
I'm not sure if they have specific goals for substance abuse, but I know that's discussed during some of her sessions.
Okay. In terms of her emotional stability, she also has an extensive history,
Yes, she does.
correct?
Yes.
Okay. And she has multiple diagnoses and hospitalizations, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then the agency is also recommending intensive treatment for that, correct?
Correct.
And the treatment that she's receiving is the twice a month at Network 180, correct?
Yes, she sees her therapist twice a month, and then she meets with a case manager weekly.
Her medications are as needed.
That's correct.
Okay. In terms of her parenting, she gets 8 hours of supervised time per the court order.
Yes, she does.
Okay. And at times she received more.
Yes, if we're able to, sometimes she'll have a 5-hour visit.
Where do those visits occur?
On Mondays, I believe we're doing those either at the library or park, and then Wednesdays are at DHS.
She attends them.
Yes, she does.
And
She
how
did cancel. She did cancel yesterday's visit because she started her new job. But otherwise, she attends her visits.
And how do the visits go?
Overall, they go well. She's very bonded with the boys. She's able to meet their needs. I think the concern continues to be when she's escalated with other people in the presence of the boys.
From your perspective, can Ms. Peterson see the connection between her mental health and parenting?
No, I don't believe so. I think when I have spoken with her and she's asked, what she needs to do, and I bring up her mental health and demonstrate that stability, and she always tells me that, she doesn't, that it's kind of a separate thing with her parenting, that does not affect her parenting, her ability to parent her children.
And the agency is looking for an extended period of stability with her mental health and her substance use?
Yes,
Abuse?
absolutely.
Do you know the status of her criminal cases?
I do not know.
You can check on that.
Yes, I will.
Anything else regarding Ms. Peterson that I may have missed?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Mr. Plummer, what have been your efforts to locate and engage with him?
We've continued reaching out with letters, phone calls, text, jail searches. There's been no contact this quarter.
Will you continue to reach out?
Yes, we will.
Okay. In terms of Mr. Fluker, he's a non-respondent, correct?
Correct.
Your agency has completed extensive checks on him, correct?
Yes, we have.
And you found his home to be appropriate.
Correct.
Do you know the status of his paternity or custody case?
When I spoke with Mr. Green yesterday, I believe everything was ready to be filed for custody.
This is a PPH. And so there's a couple of questions I have to ask. Would return of the children today create a substantial risk of harm to the children?
Yes, it would.
And why is that?
At this time, Ms. Peterson does not have stable residence. She's also not demonstrated emotional stability.
Is it in the best interest of the children to terminate?
No, I don't believe so.
And why is that?
Ms. Peterson, I would say her strength is definitely her parenting time. She is in counseling, engaging in services. We would just like to see extended stability from her.
Are the placements following the reasonable, prudent parenting standards, which means they're giving the kids an opportunity to be kids?
Yes, they are. Both the boys are able to participate in family activities, go to the park, just kind of be able to have fun and play.
Okay, what are your recommendations?
At this time, respectfully recommending that RFJ remain a temporary court ward placed with Mr. Fluker. Ms. Peterson comply with and benefit from her PATP and all court orders. Parenting time for Ms. Peterson is supervised or unsupervised at the agency's discretion. RFJ's permanency goal remains reunification. The court order guardianship with Miss Anita Peterson and NJ is discharged, and the review hearing for RFJ is within 90 days.
Okay, so let's talk about the guardianship that you're recommending. The agency previously recommended termination for NJ, correct?
Correct.
And the prosecutor withdrew the petition the day before.
That's correct.
And now you're recommending guardianship, correct?
Yes, we are.
All paperwork has been signed and submitted to the court?
Correct.
And you're requesting that the court approve that and discharge him as a court ward, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. I have nothing further from her.
Thank you. Ms. Newhouse.
Thank you. So would you agree with me that Ashley, her explosive outbursts, which have lessened, are usually directed in frustration to agency workers? Is that what you've seen?
Yes, the ones I'm aware of, yes.
It's not like she goes to the park and creates fights with other people or that sort of thing. You're not seeing that, are you?
I can't speak to that. I don't know what she does outside of parenting time, but not that I know of.
Okay, all right. And we're not going to be able to change her personality in this, correct?
Correct.
But we can get her stable emotionally in terms of psychiatric things. But she's there, isn't she?
She attends visits, yes.
Okay, but psychiatrically, she's doing well. She's engaged with Network 180, has been there for some time, correct?
Yes, she is in counseling and receiving case management. I think the concern is that her medication, I think she's only tested twice this reporting period for using her medication. And I believe, and I know her medication says as needed. But I think for her stability, that might be helpful if she were to take her medication more regularly.
Okay, but a doctor has said as needed. I mean, there's some doctors that said that, right?
Yes, they have. Correct.
Okay, and as far as the drug screens, we got a nice overview from Ms. Fonger, which I appreciate. Ms. Peterson's been testing twice a week out of her own volition. Is that correct?
Yes.
And one of those missed ones, she made another one that very week, didn't she?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay, so she's been doing double drops pretty much, a lot more than expected, correct?
Yes, she has been doing a lot of screens this quarter.
Fabulous. And let's talk about unsupervised. We've had meetings this quarter. I have, as you know, advocated and Ms. Peterson wants unsupervised. Why haven't we gotten to that? Your agency has discretion for that.
I mean, I think the continued concern is her emotional stability. And when she has these outbursts and it's around the boys, and I don't think that's a safe environment. And that continues to be a concern that the agency has, is her demonstrating that emotional stability. And I know she's in treatment, but I don't think it's safe or appropriate when she has these outbursts and it's in front of the children.
Have you seen any emotional damage or incidents where the children have been emotionally damaged by her?
I don't have a lot of interaction with the children. I'm not usually present at these incidences when they occur. So I don't know if they have, but it's also possible there's long-term damage that maybe we don't see right now. I don't think it's a healthy environment for the children when she's yelling and cursing at other people and getting upset with their boys being around.
All right, thank you. Nothing further.
Mr. Green.
Yes, Ms. Weddle was most thorough, so just a few questions. Regarding Mr. Fluker, I believe you said everything is going well there with his son and you have no concerns whatsoever. Is that fair to say?
That's correct, yes.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Weddle, any follow-up?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Newhouse, any follow-up?
One question. I just wanted to point out that the report says that Ms. Peterson is making valiant efforts. I'm quoting from the report to find housing. Is that correct?
Yes, she is. Yes.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Any follow-up, Ms. Weddle?
No, thank you.
Mr. Green?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Any further witnesses, Ms. Weddle?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Newhouse?
Thank you. Briefly, I'd like to call Eric Fullen, please. And you are the therapist for Ashley Peterson. Is that also correct?
That is correct.
How long have you been her therapist?
I have been her therapist for about 2 years now.
Okay. And how often does she meet with you?
Every other week right now.
Okay. There was a suggestion at prior hearings that should be upped. Is that every other week what your agency's recommending, or could they have offered more? What's your response to that?
Yeah, so that is what we are recommending at this time. I know that at one point it was recommended 2 to 3 times a week, which from our perspective, from our clinical judgment, that's considered a crisis service. Ashley does not appear to be in crisis. She has been attending appointments with me. She's been demonstrating significant improved insight into the situation. We talked through the incident on, I believe it was June 10th, with the dirty diaper. I mean, she recognized how her actions and how her emotions impacted it. She realized that there is a better way to handle those situations. That's why we've been talking about how to handle the frustration, right? Because it's okay to be frustrated. It's how we express, it's how we express that. So that's been a huge thing that we've been addressing in our sessions. And I do want to point out as well that we have been talking about the DV situations. We've been talking about her past relationships and how that has impacted some of the difficulties with emotion regulation, as well as the substance use.
Okay. You're familiar with the phrase fight or flight response. Yep. Ashley's more of a fighter. If she comes across something she doesn't like, am I correct?
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. And you work with her on that issue?
Yep. Absolutely. We do right now.
Can you describe whether or not she's had growth in her emotional stability in the last 2 years that you've been working with her?
Yes, I have seen a lot of growth. I want to say especially in the last even like 6 months, especially, I guess. She is able to talk about all these situations with me without having the fight or flight or kind of that like emotion dysregulation start to kick in. And so to me, that's huge progress right there, you know, to be able to recognize what's going on. And that's why we had some of the techniques like in the moment, what can you do, right? Because it's one thing to be able to talk about it after the fact. It's another thing, what do we do in the moment when we're feeling that? And I have seen a lot of growth in her in the way she's talking about it, recognizing what's on her plate, right? What she needs to deal with, recognizing what's in her best interest, recognizing what's in her children's best interest in a stressful situation.
Does she discuss her children with you?
Yeah. Yep. We have talked about her children.
Have you ever observed her with her children?
I have not.
Okay. But have you seen any red flags that you'd be concerned about her having unsupervised visits with her children, if you're able to answer this question?
I do not see any from the sessions that I work with her, from the phone calls that I have with her. A lot of what we've been working on is how to handle the stressful situation that she's in. But there's been no red flags that I've seen from our sessions regarding that, especially considering how we've been processing the incidences that have happened in the past, and how there has been a decrease in the frequency of those.
Thank you. Nothing further.
Ms. Weddle?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. So you indicated that you have been working with Ms. Peterson for 2 years. That has not been a consistent 2 years, correct?
There have been periods when I was not working with her in that 2 years.
Okay. So you recently were on leave, correct? And so you were not working with her while you were on leave.
Yes, when I was on paternity leave, I did not see her.
Okay. And that was this year, correct? Or a couple of months ago?
That was last October.
Okay. And in a previous report we received, it indicated that in February, you indicated that you had not been working with her consistently, correct?
I can't speak to that. I need to see the report.
Okay. And so you're unaware of how long she's been seeing you consistently twice a month?
I can look and see with that, but she has not missed an appointment with me since.
My question is, how long have you been seeing her consistently twice a month?
Since January.
And just for the record, Mr. Fullen, I'm assuming that you're looking at your records, but could you just, for the record, say what you're referring to?
Yeah, sorry. I was looking at my calendar just to make sure that I didn't speak out of turn.
And that's refreshed your memory?
Yes.
Okay. And so you said you've been working with her twice a month. Okay. And so are you aware that she has not participated in anything more intensive than that?
I am not aware whether or not she has or hasn't. I haven't had an indication of that.
So you indicated that you were also working with her on substances, and you determine her sobriety based on client reports, correct?
Yes, we do.
So you don't do any type of screening?
Nope, that's what we did. We go off of what she does with Samaritas.
Okay. And so you've been reporting her progress. However, are you aware of when she last tested positive or no?
I am not.
Okay.
I believe she mentioned that she had a positive drop. Might have been in April, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay. And so you wouldn't recall discussing that or processing that with her?
Mm-mm.
And then you said you had no concerns regarding, I believe you said unsupervised time with her kids. Do her escalations concern you?
They do, but I don't see. I see the stress of the supervision contributing significantly to those escalations.
But you are concerned that she's having those escalations in front of the children, correct?
Yes.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing further from him.
Thank you. Mr. Green, any follow-up?
I have no question to follow up, Your Honor.
Ms. Newhouse, any follow-up?
Just one question. Mr. Fullen, when you were on paternity leave, did Ms. Peterson work with someone else instead, namely Dory?
Yes, she continued to work with Dory while I was gone.
Okay. And did she get more frequent sessions with Dory Sullivan while you were gone?
I do not know the answer to that question.
Okay, but you didn't leave her without a therapist during paternity leave?
No, we had assigned therapists to each person if there was a need that came up to be addressed.
Good, thank you. Nothing further.
Yep.
Ms. Weddle?
Yes, but Dory is not a therapist, correct? She's just her case manager, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Newhouse?
Nothing further, thank you.
Mr. Green?
Nothing, Your Honor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Fullen, you're excused. Any further witnesses, Ms. Newhouse?
Yes, very briefly, I'd like to call Ashley Peterson, please.
Ms. Newhouse?
Thank you. Ms. Peterson, you are the mother of NJ and RFJ. We're using initials today. You have to, like, we can't hear you.
Oh, yes.
Okay. And I think we're focusing on that visit, that things became a bit escalated. What would you like to say about that?
Me and Anna have worked together for about 8 months consistently, even when I had my own place. We've always had good talk. She would pick me up for the visits. That particular visit, I apologize if she took what I was saying the wrong way, but I didn't curse her. I was a little offended that my son was sitting in stool down his leg, and we communicated with each other to go to the closest place, which would be Anita's house, my mom's house. But instead, she went to Wyoming. So it's like, that's not what we talked about. But yeah, I apologize that she didn't really understand what I was saying. I'm just there like,
You're very protective of your children, aren't you?
yes.
Okay. And you've requested unsupervised visits with your kids, correct?
Yes.
Do you think you've earned that, or do you have a ways to go before you get that?
Oh, I believe I've earned that.
Okay. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Ms. Weddle?
Ms. Peterson, so you do not acknowledge that you were escalated, yelling and cursing during this particular incident?
No, I don't acknowledge that. I apologize that she took my personality as a threat, but she apologized to me verbally and through text. I thought me and Anna had a better relationship, being that she supervised a lot of the visits. I thought we could have communicated those to each other, but
So you don't believe that your behavior was inappropriate?
no, because I did not curse
Okay.
her or
Okay, so she just requested to be off of your case just because?
yeah, I didn't curse her.
Okay, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Green?
Yes, Ms. Peterson, we wish to serve you notice for the paternity hearing, which will be on August 16 at 8:30 in the morning. What is the best address to get mail to?
Tell Chris' mother, Millie, to call me, and then we can talk about that.
Is there a place where we can send something?
No, they have my phone number. He has my phone number, and Millie has my phone number. Nope.
Okay. Thank you. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Ms. Newhouse?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Any follow-up, Ms. Weddle?
No, thank you, Your Honor.
All right. Any further witnesses, Ms. Newhouse?
No, Your Honor.
Any witnesses, Mr. Green?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Statements, Ms. Weddle?
Thank you, Your Honor. I have spent a significant amount of time on this particular case, attending meetings, maintaining communication with the agency. I did have an opportunity to visit NJ, and he continues to do well with his maternal grandmother. They're very bonded. I also had an opportunity to visit our FJ in his placement. He continues to do well with his father. I am happy to hear, I understand, and I'm happy to hear that sibling visits are occurring. I understand they occur not only during parenting time, but there are some weekends where RFJ is able to go and visit with NJ at his maternal grandmother's. Your Honor, unfortunately, Ms. Peterson has been unable to eliminate the barriers. I still fail to see intensive treatment for her mental health and her substances. The escalations continue to be a concern. Even her therapist indicated that they were a concern. She failed to acknowledge today that there was even an escalation, which is a major concern in terms of the recommendations. I am a firm believer, and I believe that it is in the best interest. It has been and always been. It has been my position that it is in the best interest of these children to have permanence. In terms of NJ, I believe that termination and adoption would have provided him that. I understand that guardianship is a permanency goal. However, for a 3-year-old child, I do not believe that that provides permanence. But the prosecutor withdrew the petition the day before, and so the agency has been moving forward with guardianship. If the court approves the guardianship, I will request that the court discharge me from representing J. In terms of RFJ, again, I believe his best interest is to have permanence and stability. I believe that that is currently with his non-respondent father. Looking forward to him being declared legal and hopefully obtaining custody. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Ms. Newhouse.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I just want to point out, I think it's pretty obvious that Ms. Peterson has made significant progress in, I believe, in her emotional stability, and that's evidenced by her attendance at Network 180. She's made progress, not that she came in with a lot of issues about parenting, but she's been in positive attendance at all those parenting times and does a nice job with her children and prioritizes them. A lot of these outbursts that she's had throughout the time that the court's been involved has, I think, directly been related to her frustration with the system. And granted, there are probably better ways that she could have handled some of those incidences, but we can't do a personality transplant. I guess that would be what would take care of that. Her personality is who she is. She advocates very strongly for her children, and she gets frustrated. A lot of this fight or flight stuff, and I think it's, she fights out right away at people because that's based on her background, and that's certainly an issue that Mr. Fullen states that he's been working with her on and has seen progress with her. My own frustration, along with Ms. Peterson's, is, and I believe Ms. Canizet as well, we're frustrated that it's never moved off an unsupervised plan for parenting time. And I think that would relieve a lot of Ms. Peterson's frustration, trying to figure out ways to interact with her children at a Chuck E. Cheese or something like that. I mean, she'd have, park time. They can't always find somebody to supervise at the places she would like to be with her children. Strongly recommend that whatever we do today, that she have that freedom of an unsupervised visit with her children. I think she's directly earned that. The drops that she's done, last time Judge asked her that you wanted more positive screens, and she's certainly done that. She's doubled up and taken those, missed one of the doubles, but she made another one that week. And so I think she's earned unsupervised. We are not objecting to the guardianship for NJ, but we want to continue on our reunification plan for RFJ at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Green.
Yes, Your Honor, 4 points. First, I support the recommendations put forth by the worker and by the GAL. Second, I applaud the efforts in terms of trying to reach Mr. Plummer. I hope those efforts will continue. Third, I certainly praise Mr. Fluker. Obviously, things are going well, no surprise. I'm pleased to see RFJ is thriving there. And fourth, for the second time during this hearing, I will again announce we will be filing today at the latest tomorrow for the paternity hearing on August 16 at 8:30. We're a little bit frustrated in terms of trying to find an address. I know there are housing challenges, but to have to kind of jump through hoops and have someone contact someone to contact someone just seems a bit much. But again, that will be August 16 at 8:30, and we will serve this every possible way we can. Thank you, Your Honor. No further statements.
Thank you. Let me just address the paternity issue right off the top. Ms. Peterson, you've heard the date and the time twice now of when that paternity hearing is going to be held. Notice has been a problem in that case. You have indicated that there's a phone number at which you can be reached. Mr. Green, do you have that phone number?
I don't believe so, Your Honor.
All right. Ms. Gibson, would you stop the live stream for a moment? Continue the The court finds that the lawyer guardian ad litem has complied with the requirements of MCL 712A.17D. That returning these children to a parent today would cause a substantial risk of harm to the child's life, physical health, or mental well-being. I'm making that finding specifically with regard to RFJ, given the fact that at this point, legally, Mr. Fluker is still not a legal father, even though he's placed with them. That the children should not be returned to a parent today, that the agency should not initiate proceedings to terminate parental rights to the children due to Ms. Peterson's strong bond with these children, and the fact that she's made some progress on her parent agency treatment plan. And that guardianship is currently one of the goals, at least as to NJ. That reasonable efforts have been made to preserve and reunify the family, make it possible for these children to safely return home. That in accordance with MCL 712A.19 sub 7, progress towards alleviating or mitigating the conditions that caused the children to be placed to remain in temporary foster care has not been made by Ms. Peterson and Mr. Plummer. And again, that finding is based on the fact that the children, it is not safe to return the children to either of these parents today. That the children's continued placement is necessary and appropriate, is meeting each of their individual needs. That the needs of each of these children can be met in a foster family home, and that they are in fact being met. That reasonable efforts have been made to finalize a court-approved permanency plan of return to a parent for NJ, for legal guardianship for RFJ. That the permanency planning goal is no longer appropriate and shall be reunification or return to a parent for RFJ and legal guardianship for NJ. That the appointment of a juvenile guardian is in the best interest of NJ. That the court has received and considered the information required by MCR 3.979A1, and that the proposed guardian should be appointed. That the foster homes have followed the reasonable, prudent parenting standard, and that each of these children has had regular opportunities to engage in age or developmentally appropriate activities. That the siblings are not in joint placement due to the placement of one child with the putative father. That sibling contact is occurring according to law. The court considers the permanency planning hearing as well as the review today, which was extensive regarding the current placement and the potential guardianship, is the review hearing that is required regarding the guardianship, and a juvenile guardian will be appointed in jurisdiction over NJ under MCL 712A2B should be terminated. It is ordered that RFJ be continued in the protective and temporary custody of the court, continuing his placement with the Department for Care and Supervision. That NJ be placed under a guardianship under MCR 3.979B. That the adjudicated respondents, Ms. Peterson and Mr. Plummer, comply with and benefit from the case service plan. The parenting time of Ms. Peterson is at the discretion of the department to allow unsupervised or supervised parenting time by its designee. I would like to see the department move more quickly towards unsupervised parenting time on a graduated basis, but that movement begin immediately. It sounds like Ms. Peterson's escalations are connected to issues of supervision. So again, I'd like to see the department start moving away from that supervision. The parenting time of Mr. Plummer is supervised until further order of the court. The jurisdiction of this court regarding NJ is terminated, and that he is released to his guardian, Ms. Peterson, Ms. Anita Peterson. Continue the appointment of Ms. Weddle to represent RFJ. Continue the appointment of the other attorneys except for Mr. Green as to Mr. Plummer is discharged. And Ms. Gibson, do we have a date and time for our next review hearing regarding our FJ?
Yes, Your Honor, October 2 at 9 a.m.
Any conflicts with that date or time?
No, thank you, Your Honor. I'm just, and I may have missed it, and I apologize if I did, but I am discharged from representing NJ, correct?
Yes. Mhm.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. We're adjourned.
In the virtual courtroom, we have Mother Ms. Peterson's attorney, Kristen Newhouse. We have Mother's guardian ad litem, Julie Kennezay. Father Christopher Fluker, as well as his attorney, Brent Green. Child's attorney, Ms. Weddle. And Ms. Plavin from the agency, and Ms. Fonger from the agency. Ms. Weddle.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to call Jennifer Plavin, please. And Ms. Plavin, where are you employed and what is your position?
I'm a foster care supervisor at Samaritas.
And how long have you been assigned to this case?
I think it was last spring of 2023, like March or April. So 16 months or so.
So you've prepared and collected reports in
Yes.
regards to this hearing?
Yes, we did.
Your Honor, I would like to mark and move to admit several exhibits.
All right.
As Exhibit 1, a case service plan with a parent agency treatment plans dated September 9th of 2024. As Exhibit
Go ahead. Go ahead. That's fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
As Exhibit 2, forensic fluid labs, oral fluid drug testing for Ashley Peterson dated June 20th, 2024 through September 4th of 2024. And as Exhibit 3, 2 police reports regarding Ashley Peterson dated April 17th of 2024 and March 29th of 2024.
Any objection?
No objection.
No objection.
All right. They're all admitted.
Thank you. Ms. Plavin, can you please tell us where the child is placed?
Yes, RFJ is placed with his father where he's been since April 5th of this year.
Okay. And you've assessed that home and found it safe, appropriate, and able to meet his needs?
Yes, we have.
Are there any concerns with that placement?
No, I don't believe so.
How old is the child?
He's 2.
Okay. Medical, dental immunizations, is he up to date?
Yes, he is. He's current on both.
Okay. Is he meeting his milestones?
Yes, he is. There's no concerns with his developmental milestones at this time.
Okay. Anything that I may have missed in regards to the child?
No, he continues to do very well.
Let's speak about Ms. Peterson in terms of her employment resources. She's been unemployed for a majority of the case.
Yes, she quit her job at Jimmy John's in August, and she has not obtained employment since then.
And she was only employed at that job for a short period of time, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Does she have any other resources?
She does receive SSI.
Okay. Have you received documentation of that?
I would have to check the file. I don't know if we've received anything recent.
Okay. And you can follow up with that?
Yes, I will.
In terms of her support system, how would you characterize that?
I think her support system continues to be an area that she could improve on. Her mother is sometimes a support when they're getting along, and other times it can be a challenging relationship.
In terms of domestic relations, what is her current status?
She's not in a relationship that we're aware of.
Okay. And she was a DV victim, correct?
That's correct.
And is she working through that at counseling at Network 180?
We have requested that she address that. She did receive a new therapist this reporting period. I did speak to her previous therapist before he left, and we had kind of gone over expectations, but I have not spoken to the new therapist. However, she continues to meet on a regular basis.
In terms of her housing, she's been homeless throughout the case?
Yes, she has.
Has resources been provided?
Yes, they have.
Okay. During the reporting period, what is her status?
She's currently homeless. After her older son's neglect case closed, she did move in with Miss Anita Peterson for a brief amount of time. When the agency became aware of this, we did let her know that she was not able to move in there without the court's approval, so she did move out and she's staying at Degage.
Let me slow you down just a little bit so make sure I understand. So Miss Ashley Peterson, and I'm going to refer to first and last name because they have the same last name. Miss Ashley Peterson advised that she was living with her mother, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And at the last hearing, the court granted her mother guardianship over her 3-year-old son.
Correct.
A home study was completed as part of that guardianship process, correct?
Yes.
That was entered as an exhibit at the last hearing.
Correct.
As part of that home study, Miss Anita Peterson agreed not to allow Ashley Peterson to live in the home without the court's approval, correct?
Correct. Yes.
To your knowledge, there was 0 court approval?
Correct.
So Ashley living there was a violation, correct?
Yes.
When you advised Ashley, she said she would move out.
Yes, she did.
And she's now at Degage, did you say?
Yes.
Were you also able to obtain police reports regarding that, Miss Peterson and that residence?
Yes, I was.
Okay, and what did you discover recently?
There wasn't anything this past reporting period, but in March, there was a police report of Miss Ashley Peterson at Miss Anita Peterson's house. She was upset because Anita did not pick her up when she wanted to be. Anita also observed Ashley pushing her daughter down, and when Anita tried to intervene, Ashley pushed her as well. And then Anita had reported that Ashley had been living with her on and off. There was another report from 4/17/24 where Ashley was pounding on Anita's door. Ashley left before the police arrived. But Anita reported that, when she would come pick up belongings from the home, that she never wanted to leave.
Okay. You said those were in March and April?
Yes, of this year.
Were those ever disclosed to the agency?
No, they were not.
And those disputes were between Ashley Peterson and Anita Peterson at Anita Peterson's residence?
Correct.
In terms of her communication, how has her communication been?
Her communication has been appropriate with the agency this quarter.
But in previous reporting periods, there were concerns with her aggression, correct?
Correct.
Okay. In terms of substances, she has a long history of substance use, correct?
She does, yes.
She has had previously multiple overdoses?
Correct.
And multiple diagnoses?
Yes.
And because of that, the agency was recommending intensive treatment. Has she had that?
No, she continues to receive biweekly counseling at Network 180. She did get a new therapist this quarter, Renee, and I apologize in the name, Augustine, and that started mid-August.
Okay. Have you been able to speak with that therapist in terms of what she's working on?
No, we've reached out but have not heard back from the therapist at this point.
And you can follow up?
Yes, we have maintained communication with her case manager, Dory Sullivan, who continues to meet with her weekly and has stated that Miss Peterson is in compliance and making progress on her treatment goals. In
terms of screens, has she been screening this reporting period?
Yes, Miss Peterson continues to screen and all screens have been negative for any illegal substances or THC.
Okay. Have you been screening for alcohol since she was previously diagnosed with alcohol?
Yes, I would have to double check to make sure all of them have been requested for alcohol, but I know that some of them have been.
Okay, and can you just ensure that that's being screened for as well?
Yes, we will.
Awesome. In terms of her emotional stability or her mental health, she has an extensive history?
Yes, she does.
She's had several hospitalization and inpatient treatments?
Correct.
Multiple diagnoses?
Yes.
And because of that, the agency is recommending intensive treatment. Has she been receiving that?
She just continues to receive her biweekly counseling through Network 180, as well as weekly case management meetings with her with Network 180 as well.
Okay, and what about her medication?
Her medication, she's prescribed Remeron and Seroquel as needed, which she has tested a couple times for her medication, but it's as needed.
Parenting time. The judge had previously ordered 8 hours a week.
Correct.
And prior to this reporting period, there was some escalation surrounding during her supervised parenting time, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And at the last hearing, The judge indicated that the supervision was causing that, so she instructed the agency to move to unsupervised, correct?
Correct.
So are her visits now unsupervised?
They are, yes.
Okay, and how often do they occur?
They're twice a week.
Okay, and how long are the visits?
We have increased the times. We started with 2 4-hour visits, and they're up to 8 hours.
Are you looking to expand that at this time?
I think right now we're just looking to kind of maintain, but that's a possibility we could look into.
Okay, but you're not looking to go to overnights, correct?
No, we're not. At this time, Miss Ashley Peterson does not have appropriate housing for overnight visits.
Okay, and that would not be appropriate at her mother's home, correct?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. In addition to the police reports you also discovered that Ms. Peterson was incarcerated during this reporting period, correct?
Yes, she was.
Were you able to find out the reason?
When we requested the information, it just said that the charges were dropped, which is also what Miss Miss Ashley Peterson had told us. We have not been able to receive any more information regarding this incident.
Anything else about Ms. Peterson that I may have missed?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay. Let's talk about Mr. Fluker. He's a non-respondent parent, correct?
Yes, he is.
Okay. The agency has completed extensive checks on him.
Yes, we have.
Have you found him to be appropriate in his home appropriate?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so he was previously granted custody and paternity, but that case was dismissed, correct?
Correct.
There was a recent hearing. Can you please tell us recent, when I say recent, August, I think mid-August. Can you tell us the result of that?
Yes, he was made the legal father. The custody case was moved over to FOC. So at this time, we're just waiting for that to happen.
There was a recent miscommunication between Mr. Fluker and the agency regarding the child's travel. Can you explain that, please?
Yes, Mr. Fluker had texted the caseworker that Ramesh was going to be out of town 9-13. The caseworker thought it was a day trip on 9-13. Chris actually meant 9-9 to 9-13 to not, so a week's long, but he failed to mention where he was going. After the fact, we found out that RFJ's grandma took him to the Carolinas for a week. Upon learning that he left the state without approval, Mr. Fluker apologized. He looked back at his text and realized that he didn't say where he was going, and that was not his intention. Safety plan was drafted by the agency, which Chris agreed to on 9/16, and then again during a home visit, it was discussed on 9/26. The safety plan that he agreed to was that if he was planning to have Ramesh travel out of state, he needed to give the agency 30 days notice so we could seek court approval. Any visits would be made up, and failure to follow the safety plan could result in removing RFJ from the placement.
Anything else regarding Mr. Fluker that I may have missed?
No, I don't believe so.
What are your recommendations?
Respectfully recommended that RFJ remain placed with his father, Christopher Fluker. Ms. Peterson comply with and benefit from her parent agency treatment plan and all court orders. Parenting time for Ms. Peterson is supervised or unsupervised at the agency's discretion. RFJ's permanency goal remain reunification, and the hearing is reviewed in 90 days.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have nothing further from her.
All right, thank you. Ms. Newhouse.
Thank you. Just to clarify, all Ms. Peterson and I don't usually use first names, but since we have two Ms. Petersons here, Ashley Peterson's screens have all been negative, correct?
Yes, they have.
How many has she missed?
I apologize. I don't have that off the top of my head. But I know she's off the top of my head. I don't know, but I know she's very consistent with her screens. And like I said, they've all been negative this quarter.
Okay, and there's no evidence that she's been using or anything like that?
No, we have no reason to believe so.
Those police reports, did you discuss those with her?
I have not. We just received those last week. We'll have to follow up with the case manager to make sure those are discussed with Miss Ashley Peterson.
Okay, because there's always two sides to every story, right?
That's correct. Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And let's see, at the last hearing, I believe you testified that Ashley was making valiant efforts to find housing. Does she continue to make valiant efforts?
She continues to make efforts with her criminal history, felony. Obviously, the housing market in Kent County is very challenging to begin with. When you have a felony, that is even more challenging. So I know previously she was considering moving out of the area, but she continues to look for housing, but has been unsuccessful thus far.
And her parenting times with RFJ, is she loving towards him? Does she provide him love and comfort?
Yes, she's continues to be appropriate with RFJ. There's no concerns with a lack of nurture.
Okay, and he, at the end of the visit, is returned clean and fed and things like that?
Correct.
Okay. So really, the big barrier is housing. Would you agree with me?
Housing, and then just to maintain her sobriety and mental health.
Okay. All right. Well, the thing that I know my client was most upset about was this taking the child out of the state of Michigan to the Carolinas. When did your agency find out about that?
Let me double check the calendar. I think it was that Friday, the 13th.
You didn't notify the LGAL, did you? Anybody there?
No, not previously. Previously, we just thought, like I said, it was 9-13, and we thought it was just a day trip. And he didn't mention it was out of state, so we just had thought it was a day trip here in Michigan. I did talk to Miss Weddle on the 13th when we became aware of this incident, but we previously did not know it was going to be out of state.
Okay. And when I raised a stink about it, I was told, don't worry about it. He's not out of the state of Michigan. Are you aware of that?
Yes, like I said, we initially thought it was just for, like I said, the day trip. We didn't realize that it was out of state for the week. It was our impression that it was just going to be gone for the day. Okay.
And granted, maybe Mr. Fluker and his mother didn't know this, but in the future, any travels out of town should be investigated and pinned down where they're going.
Absolutely, yes. And I know the caseworkers had extensive conversations with Mr. Fluker. He was apologetic in the miscommunication. He stated it was not intentional and that he understood the safety plan and agreed to it.
Okay. Well, Ashley gets along, I think, pretty well with Mr. Fluker's mother and everything, but she missed 2 visits that week, correct?
Yes.
And she was told about 20 minutes before the first visit that it was going to be canceled?
I don't know. I was not part of that conversation, but I can follow up on that.
Are you gonna, I don't know, are you, Ms. Fonger, does she get makeups for those?
Yes. Yes, those visits were made up the previous week. Or I'm sorry, the week he returned, the week after he returned.
Okay. And he was fine?
Correct. He was. Yes.
Looking into the future, do you foresee that possibly Ashley Peterson and Chris Fluker can come up with some sort of custody agreement? Would that be something that we'd be able to discharge the case with?
That would be, yes. I mean, I would like for that to happen, that they could work together to come to terms. But I know their relationship is challenging, and so I don't know realistically if that'll work or not. Okay.
Well, he's shaking his head no. But wouldn't you, I mean, these parents have to learn to work together. This little guy's only 2 years old, so they've got 16 more years to try to co-parent.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. And have you talked to you or Ms. Fonger talked to Ms. Peterson about today's hearing?
I don't know if Ms. Fonger has. I have not. So I'm unaware if Ms. Peterson was talked to about the hearing.
Okay. Judge, has she joined yet? Sometimes I don't get everybody on.
No, she has not.
Okay. So do you have any idea why she's not here today?
I don't know. I believe she's at the last hearing, so she would have provided the notice, but I'm not sure why she's not here today.
Okay. And as far as being cooperative and communicative with you and Ms. Fonger, she shows up to things?
Yes.
Okay. Hope she's all right. All right. Nothing further. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Green.
Yes. First, just to affirm some things. Everything is going well in terms of trying to use the initials here, RFJ. at his father's house. No concerns whatsoever, correct?
That's correct. He continues to do well. The agency has no concerns with his care with his father.
Okay, so you would have, as an agency, or you as a caseworker or as a supervisor, would have no problem whatsoever if FOC found in favor of him gaining custody. Is that fair to say?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, in terms of this whole travel situation, isn't it true that Chris Fluker's mother and Ashley talked weeks before this trip about this trip happening?
I'm not sure if they had discussed this previously. I know they, from my understanding, they do have regular communication. So I'm not sure if Miss Ashley Peterson was aware of this from talking with Mr. Fluker's mother or not.
Okay. And then I believe you testified that Mr. Fluker did communicate about the travel, but in miscommunication or just dropping the ball or what have you, he just didn't clarify. So he wasn't trying to, you didn't get the impression he was trying to sneak RFJ out of the state or something, did you?
No, I did not. No, it sounded like he was apologetic and it was just a miscommunication. And he, like I said, agreed to the safety plan, and I don't believe we'll have this issue again.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Weddle, any follow-up?
Just one quick follow-up. Did you say that you were aware of the date that you notified me of because I believe that was on the 16th and not the 13th, as you quoted, of the travel?
I thought we spoke on that Friday, but I could be mistaken. I would have to follow up with my phone records to verify that.
It's okay. I thought I heard that incorrectly. But other than that, I have no further questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Newhouse, any follow-up?
No, thank you.
All right. Any further witnesses, Ms. Weddle?
I do not. Thank you.
Ms. Newhouse?
No, thank you.
Mr. Green?
Your Honor, thank you.
All right, statements.
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I have spent a significant amount of time on this case, maintained constant communication with the agency, attending meetings. I did have an opportunity to visit with RFJ. He continues to do amazing in his non-respondent father's home. He's always very happy, very bonded to not only Mr. Fluker, but also the family members there. It's unfortunate that he has been in care his entire life, and he's only 2 years old. Unfortunately, Ms. Peterson has been unable to eliminate the barriers in terms of intensive treatment for her mental health and substances. She continues to have zero housing. There are concerns with her residing in the home with the other child without the court's permission, as well as the police involvement regarding the domestic disputes there. I have stated repeatedly, I think it's in the best interest of this child to have permanence, stability, and finality. I believe his non-respondent father is able to provide that. I believe that it's in his best interest for his non-respondent father to have legal and physical custody, as well as Ms. Peterson to have supervised parenting time due to her lack of progress. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Newhouse.
Okay, well, I'm not hearing lack of progress. I'm hearing consistent, stable progress on behalf of my clients. So I would totally disagree with that last statement that Ms. Weddle made. I think she's been tremendously successful in a lot of her areas, important areas like sobriety and the counseling that she continues to do at Network 180 and get along with the people there. Her communication with the agency has been very good this quarter. And last hearing, we heard about her valiant efforts. I put that in quotes from the last hearing to find housing. She continues to make efforts to find housing for herself and her child. I believe I will try to meet with Ms. Allen and try to come up with some sort of custody agreement. I think that would be in the best interest of everyone. I think Ms. Peterson has pretty much reached her limit on what services the agency can provide her and has taken advantage of what she's been given. And so I think we're closing in on a successful discharge of this child. I guess I see things so much differently. She keeps in contact with me. I do not know where she's at today. I know she was aware and I'm concerned about her because we had talked yesterday about the hearing and she was very excited and wanted to testify. So I support the recommendations. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Mr. Green.
Yes, I would echo the comments of the LGAL, Ms. Weddle, as well as the comments of Ms. and I'm going to mispronounce your name. I'm sorry, Ms. Pelovin at Samaritas, in terms of just the tremendous consistency and positive interaction of Mr. Fluker with RFJ. There have been no problems since April. There was some miscommunication about what kind of trip, but obviously, while there may have been some time missed with mother, there were no huge impacts upon the child. I just cannot emphasize enough, I think, as a non-respondent father who's doing well, I can see no reason whatsoever why he would just not gain full legal and physical custody. I'm hopeful, obviously, with Ms. Newhouse working her magic, that we could somehow get some sort of a custody arrangement stipulated with Ms. Allen working as well. Two excellent attorneys. I just know there have been some hiccups with that in the past. So while I'm hopeful, I'm not as confident as I would like to be. But I certainly believe that Ms. Weddle's recommendation of RFJ being with his father and remaining there is appropriate. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Ms. Kennedy. Sorry, I almost forgot you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would support the statements made by Ms. Newhouse. I know she works very hard and advocates very strongly for Ms. Peterson, and I am also concerned. She is always in constant communication with both of us in preparation for court hearings, so I hope she's okay. But the recommendations, I believe, to allow her to continue to have time to work unification and enjoy unsupervised parenting time is appropriate.
All right, thank you. The court finds that the lawyer guardian ad litem has complied with the requirements of the statute. The court will amend its prior findings and find that Christopher Fluker is the legal father of RFJ. At this point, we have a child placed with a legal parent. So let's see here. We no longer have a foster care placement. All right. The court orders that the child continue in the protective and temporary custody of the court. That the child is remained home with Mr. Fluker under the supervision of the department. Continue the attorneys in this matter. That the adjudicated respondent, Ms. Peterson, comply with and benefit from the case service plan. That Ms. Peterson's parenting time is at the discretion of the agency. And Ms. Gibson, do we have a date for the next review hearing?
Yes, December 18th at 10 o'clock.
All right, and my understanding is that date was cleared with all of the attorneys before it was set. So we will see you then. Present in the virtual courtroom, we have Mother Ashley Peterson, her attorney, Ms. Newhouse, her guardian ad litem, Ms. Kennedy, father, Mr. Fluker, father's attorney, Mr. Green, child's attorney, Ms. Weddle, and various, well, I guess it's just Ms. Pelivan from Samaritas here from, as I said, Samaritas. We're here for a review hearing today. Ms. Weddle, would you begin, please?
Yes, I would like to call Jennifer Pelivan. How long have you been the supervisor on this case?
I believe it was March of 2023 when I started supervising this case.
Okay. And so you prepared and collected several reports?
Yes, I did.
Your Honor, I would like to mark and move to admit several exhibits.
All right.
As Exhibit 1, the case service plan with the parent agency treatment plan dated 12/5/2024. As Exhibit 2, I have 5 forensic fluid lab oral fluid drug testing for Ashley Peterson, and the dates range from September 13th, 2024 through October 16th, 2024. As Exhibit 3, I have 2 police reports regarding Ashley Peterson dated 11/4/2024 and 10/1/2024. And as Exhibit 4, I have a custody, parenting time, and child support order dated 12/2/2024.
Any objection?
No objection.
Objection.
All right, they're admitted.
Thank you. In regards to the child, where's the child placed, please?
RFJ has been placed with his father since April of 2024.
You've assessed that home and found it safe, appropriate, and able to meet his needs?
Yes, we have.
And there are no concerns with that home?
No, there are not.
How old is the child?
He's 2.
Is he up to date on medical, dental, and immunization?
Yes, he is.
Are there any concerns in regards to those?
No, there are no health concerns.
Okay. Is he meeting his milestones?
Yes, he is. He is meeting his developmental milestones.
Is there anything I may have missed in regards to the child?
No, RFJ continues to do very well in his father's home, and we have no concern with his care.
Let's talk about Ms. Peterson. She's been unemployed for a majority of the case, correct?
Yes, she has.
Is she currently employed?
Not to my knowledge, no.
And then in terms of her support system, does she have a support system?
Not to my knowledge. Previously, she stated that her mother was her support system. However, there was a incident on 11/4, or I'm sorry, 10/1, where the police were called to her mother's home for an assault and battery against her mother. There were some concerns that Miss Ashley Peterson was under the influence. And then in November, I believe it was November 11th of 2024, the grandmother, Anita Peterson, had informed our agency that she did not want Ashley attending parenting time visits at her home any longer. So to my knowledge, Ashley Peterson does not have a support system, as her mother was her primary support. She'd also mentioned in the past that her team at Network 180 were supports to her, but I spoke with her therapist about 2 weeks ago, and she reported that Network 180 has not had contact with Miss Ashley Peterson since the beginning of November. And so at this time, I'm not aware of any social supports that Miss Ashley Peterson has.
You said a whole lot, so I'm going to break it down a little bit as we go through the different categories. So you said that she doesn't have a support system at this time. Okay, in terms of domestic relations, is she in a relationship?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, and she previously reported being a DV victim?
Correct.
Is she in any type of therapy for that?
She was attending biweekly therapy at Network 180, but she has not. I believe her last session was 11/7 with her case manager. She's not been back since.
Housing, she's been homeless the majority of this case, correct?
Correct.
Have you provided her with resources?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Previously, she reported living with her mom, correct?
Yes, a previous report period she did.
His guardianship of her 3-year-old child.
Correct.
And she agreed not to allow Ashley to live with her without court approval, correct?
Correct.
So Ashley advised she moved out, right?
Yes.
Now, there was a police report during this reporting period. And do you know what the dispute was over?
I believe there was a dispute that Miss Anita Pearson reported that Miss Ashley Pearson was trying to get in her purse. Based on the police report, I'm not sure that she was residing there or if she was just visiting, but she was at the residence at the time that the police came.
Okay. And are you aware that if the police report said that there was a dispute over rent?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay. Currently, is she homeless?
To my knowledge, she's staying at Degage.
Okay. And there was a police report regarding an incident at Degage, correct?
Yes, that's correct. On 11/4, the police were called. Ms. Ashley Peterson was banned from Degage for the night for trespassing, and officers had noted that she appeared to be intoxicated.
And she was arrested that evening, correct?
Yes, she was.
How has her communication been with the agents?
This quarter, she has been more, I would say, agitated and hostile. She was verbally threatening to the previous caseworker. She's also been hostile and threatening to Mr. Fluker's mother as well. So communication has been poor with her this quarter.
Okay. And what does the verbal threats look like? Are you aware of that?
She had told the previous caseworker that, she hopes she dies. She told me that when I spoke with her, I think it was on the 4th of this month, December 4th, that she hoped, whatever happened to her came to me, that I had it worse weekly with her case manager. However, they have not spoken with her since November of 24. So as far as I'm aware, she's not participating in any kind of mental health treatment.
Medication, is she on any medication?
She is prescribed Remeron and Seroquel as needed. The September drug screens were negative for everything, including her medication. In October, she was positive for both drug screens for Seroquel and negative for Remeron both times.
In terms of her parenting, she was getting quite a bit of parenting time, correct?
Yes, she was.
Okay. I guess I have to slow down a little bit. The judge previously ordered 8 hours, correct?
Correct. Yes.
She was having escalations during parenting time, correct?
Yes.
And the judge indicated that supervision was causing the escalation, so she instructed the agency to move to unsupervised, correct?
Yes.
So her visits were unsupervised, and how often did they occur?
They were occurring twice a week.
And for how long?
For 8 hours.
Okay. And had she been attending?
She has not been consistent this report period. I believe, I apologize, I think there were 20 visits this report period, and I believe, wait, no, I'm sorry, those numbers are not right. I counted 15 visits that she did not attend out of 30. So about half the visits she did not attend. There was one that was canceled because she was in jail. I believe she canceled one, she was sick. A couple of them were canceled. She had canceled herself without a reason. Several, I believe, since like mid-November, I think 11/11/24. Since then, a lot of the visits were canceled because Miss Peterson refused to cooperate. We would ask her, where are we going to do visits? And she would not give us a clear answer once we were not able to do them at Miss Anita Peterson's house. We had suggested the library or the community somewhere, and she would not give us a clear answer. When I spoke with her on 12/4 and tried to figure out a location for visits, she said that instead of doing 2 visits, she just wanted to do 1 overnight visit at a motel. I told her at this time we were not doing overnight visits. I did not feel that was appropriate. And she was very escalated with me. And since then, yeah, we've just not had consistent visits with her, which has not, I guess, over the duration of the case, she's been much more consistent except for this report period.
Let me interrupt. Given the fact that the recommendation is that this case be closed, I don't think we need to go really very much deeper into Ms. Peterson's treatment plan and her completion
Okay.
of that.
Okay.
All right.
So would you just like her recommendations at this time?
Well, if you want to highlight, if there's anything else you want to highlight, but we don't need to go as in depth, I don't think, given the
Okay.
recommendation at this point.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, I just had a couple more questions anyway. So, due to her, her visits were unsupervised, but due to her behavior, you moved them back to supervised, correct?
Yes, I was planning to move them to supervise after I spoke with her on December 4th.
Okay. And she has made threats to take the child, correct?
She made threats to Mr. Fluker's mother, yes.
Anything else I missed in regards to her?
No, I don't believe so.
Let's talk briefly about Mr. Fluker. He's a non-respondent, correct?
Correct.
And the agency has completed extensive checks on him, correct?
Yes, we have.
You've assessed his home and found it to be appropriate, correct?
Yes, it is.
Do you know the status of the paternity or custody?
Yes, he is legal father, and on 12/2, he was awarded full physical and legal custody of RFJ.
And that custody order also gave Ms. Peterson supervised parenting time, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And a copy of that was entered as an exhibit, correct?
Yes.
Anything else I may have missed regarding Mr. Fluker?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, and what is your recommendation?
We are respectfully recommending that the court terminate jurisdiction of the foster case for RFJ, and that RFJ is placed with Mr. Fluker since he has full custody.
Have nothing further, thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Newhouse.
Thank you. Would you agree that despite all the negative things that you testified to on direct examination, Ms. Peterson also did a number of positive things throughout this case?
Yes, she has.
And made progress in some areas, not enough in some, but that's why the case has been open so long. Is that your understanding?
Yes, that's correct.
And as far as finding housing, she's done, I think the testimony last 2 hearings, the word valiant efforts was used to try to find housing in the community. Is that right?
Yes, I know she has continued to search for housing, and with her felony history and just the housing kind of crisis in Kent County, it has been very challenging. Okay, and just because I noticed that the custody order says that she's only awarded supervised visitation. Does that sound right to you? Yes, that's correct. But she was getting unsupervised through this court, right? She was, yes. And how is that going? I believe early in the report period, it was fine. And then there were some concerns with just her mental health and and some threats that she made that I felt it was no longer safe for them to be unsupervised. So I do feel supervised parenting time at this time would be appropriate.
Okay. And as far as any more visits, if the court does follow recommendations and discharge the case today, would she have any more visits with, what do we call them, RFJ following this hearing?
Yes, that would be with Mr. Fluker. She would contact him to set those up.
Okay, but not through the agency.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Nothing further.
All right, thank you. Mr. Green. Yep, you're muted.
No questions, Your Honor, as we've heard clear testimony as to the positive behavior and interaction of my client. So no questions. Thank you.
Great. Ms. Waddle, any follow-up?
No, thank you.
All right. Any further witnesses?
No, thank you.
All right. Ms. Newhouse?
Your Honor, I did not intend to call my client as a witness. I didn't know if the court would allow her to make a short statement at some point.
No, I think any of her statements would have to do with the custody case, and that's not what we're here for today.
Exactly. And I'm not calling her as a witness because I also believe her testimony would go to that as well. And so therefore I have no witnesses today.
All right, thank you. All right. Statements, Mr. Green.
Yes, Your Honor. I continue to applaud, as I always have, the efforts of Mr. Fluker in terms of taking actions to, gain custody of RFP. I'm getting the RFJ. I'm sorry, I'm still dealing with initials here. RFJ. And he's just been persistent and I think exhibited the qualities of a good father, and I applaud him. And I certainly support the recommendation for the discharge of this case. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Waddle.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have spent a significant amount of time on this case. I've maintained constant communication with the agency. I was able to visit with RFJ. He is such a ray of sunshine. He is doing absolutely amazing in his father's care. Unfortunately, he's been awarded the court for far too long due to Ms. Peterson's lack of progress, which continues. It has consistently been my position that it is in his best interest to be with his dad having sole physical and legal custody and Ms. Peterson having supervised parenting time. I'm absolutely thrilled that the court granted that. I agree with the recommendations for case closure and respectfully request that I am discharged from representing.
All right, thank you. Ms. Newhouse.
Thank you. Well, Your Honor, there's not much I can do regarding discharge of this case because we do have a custody order. But just for the record, and because we all know this to be true, there would be an opportunity for Ms. Peterson to go through friend of court, file motions in the future to change the provisions of that order. And she has parenting time within that order. I encourage her to successfully comply and exercise that parenting time so that when she is doing better, is able to go back in to friend of court, show them her progress as she continues to make it, and get more time or different time, whatever she chooses to do in the future. It's not over. I know she's worked really hard in this case and she's had setbacks, but she's been remarkable in some of the achievements that she's made in this case. But at this time, she's struggling in several areas, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kennedy.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would support the statements made by Ms. Newhouse, indicate through the 2 years that the case has been open. I found her to be a very strong advocate for Ms. Peterson, and I would agree that it is in her best interest at this time to be out of the foster care case and have the ability to demonstrate her progress in the other case as she chooses. Thank you.
All right, thank you. The court finds that the lawyer guardian ad litem has complied with the requirements of the statute, given that we now have a non-respondent appropriate legal father who has custody of this child, that there is no longer a risk of harm to this child that would require court supervision in a child protective case. So the court terminates jurisdiction and discharges all of the attorneys. And I want to thank everyone for their hard work, including Ms. Peterson. This has been a very long journey. And again, just applaud everybody for their good work.